I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad.
Hey guys, before we get into this this extra video here, this bonus, it is going over sensitive topics, specifically about, well, we start out a little bit with some freedom of speech, and then very, very quickly devolve into talk about a certain worldwide event and the way that, that things have been handled. You know, we do talk about things that have been labeled conspiracy. We talk about a bunch of other things like that. This was not anything close to the episode that we were attempting to record. We were supposed to be talking about Mandela effects, and then somehow almost immediately got derailed. So that's why this was removed. It's entirely possible that YouTube will, flag this and take it down for whatever reason. Just know that some of this will be edited for contextual reasons to try to keep it quote unquote safe. But I believe that you will get you'll get the gist of what we're trying to communicate, and it becomes pretty clear that the three of us all have different takes on the particular subject matter based on our own life experience and things that we have been exposed to and stuff like that. So just know that this is another one of those kind of hefty topics that that YouTube is oh so fond of, and just one of those things. So yeah, so let's just get this very awkward episode. It's one of those ones where we don't tend to tread into this territory, but you know what? If you can be adult enough about it, because there is such differing opinions even amongst ourselves, let alone, people out there in the world, if you can be adult enough to listen to it and, be able to control yourself and your own feelings. We all have feelings about these things. Based on experience and whatnot. So if not, if you're not keen, thanks for at least listening this far. But just know that, this particular topic, some people are going to want to avoid, some people are going to want to fight over. I may actually disable comments on this just because, to try to avoid any extra controversy. If you do want to write in, if you have any feelings about that, please write into the email, the NowYouMadeItAwkwardMail@gmail.com. Probably a better way to communicate your thoughts rather than typing comments in the and then just plowing through it with whatever emotions you may be feeling, depending on what it is we're talking about. So, all right, guys, let's get to it.
That's what I'm saying. So it's just switched the other way. So now it's in agreement with your stances on stuff. So now you think Twitter's good, but before Twitter was shit because it wasn't on your stances. So it's still selective censorship.
No, because now everybody can say whatever they want equally, and they're removing the blockades that were keeping people from being seen.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I just saw a thing about Kanye got kicked off Twitter again.
Yeah, but that was also because he was going on anti-Semitic rants and shit like that.
And that's still censorship.
The problem is if he's inciting violence. If he wasn't,
he's allowed to say whatever he wants.
But that's against the rules. You can't incite violence against other people.
Well, he's not telling anybody to go out and kill anybody. He's just saying he agreed with what happened before. That's not the same thing.
Well, actually, the thing that got him removed specifically was an image he shared, which was potentially misunderstood. Now, I don't agree with him being removed. I believe that he's got some bad ideas, or he's vocalizing his ideas badly.
I think he's whacked in the fucking head, and I'm in no way in agreement with what he said. And if anybody knows me, knows I'm directly against everything that he's fucking saying. Yeah. But it's still censorship, is my point.
I also think that Kanye in particular has fallen in with a crowd that wants to use his fame to boost their platform, and that's where his ideas are coming from.
It's that, and the dude has... I think he literally has mental issues. No joking around.
Like, no, he does. He's diagnosed bipolar.
I was going to say, I think he's diagnosed bipolar.
He was diagnosed bipolar. Problem is, he's constantly had the wrong type of people around him to sway him one way or the other.
I
And
blame the
and
Kardashians.
it's not I do that too. The
So I mean, so Elon can say everything he wants, right? But he does still have to be careful about
oh dear God.
disinformation, right? Look
You're
at
leaning
what.
away from your microphone.
Yeah, sorry, I did. You gotta. He's got to be careful about misinformation too, just like Facebook,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what Facebook is getting slammed for now, right? Is that they're just allowing all this misinformation all over the place.
Well, the problem is the problem is especially just using that word. What is considered misinformation or disinformation? Who gets to set that rule?
Exactly.
People can say whatever they
Selective
want.
censorship.
No, saying whatever you want is fine, right? But specifically, like, I mean, we can get into the whole thing, right? But I mean, people start like, okay, so I'll give you an example of one that happened in Canada, right? So people were using some wording that was on the Health Canada website about the fact that the vaccines had been
I'm gonna have to bleep that word, by the way.
tested and approved conditionally, and they were
Bleep what
using
word?
that conditionally.
The word that'll get us shut down.
The
What's
V
that?
word?
Yes, that word. So I'm not gonna bleep what you're saying. I'm just bleeping that word so that they won't take it
Oh,
down
yeah.
out of
No,
context.
all good, all good. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they were using the word conditionally. So the fact that it was approved conditionally, and they were saying that they were using that one word to basically spout misinformation that the vaccine had never been approved in Canada. But when you click on so the word conditional was actually a link, and if you clicked on the word conditional, it took you to a page that told you that it was conditionally approved because of the side effects. And the side effects were, nasal congestion, chest congestion, headaches, dry mouth, blah 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 blah. Right?
So
But
all
that
the
was
normal stuff you can get from Tylenol.
exactly right. So, but they were using so they didn't actually look at the next page. They
Mhm.
looked at the primary page that said that it had been tested and approved conditionally, and then they were spouting misinformation about the fact that it was never fully approved when it was.
Mm.
Right? So that's the type of it's one thing to say you can say whatever you want,
Yeah.
right? You can have an opinion, but you
See,
should not be
But it still
using those
falls under
platforms.
they can say that. It's up to the I'm going to use the word incorrectly, but it's up to the consumer who's reading that article to click that link and figure out that it's bullshit. The problem is people read that clickbait title and then they just go off and start going on these rants instead of actually doing their homework.
yeah.
Right,
They're
but
still allowed to say whatever they want to.
is it
Yeah.
not the responsibility of those platforms to try
It is
to
No.
mitigate?
not my responsibility to make sure somebody else doesn't say stupid shit. If it was, I wouldn't be on a podcast with Shoki because he says shit. So
here's the problem. Much like me having to bleep that right there. Okay, so moving all that
trash.
See, it's gonna sound like Ricky said a bunch of stuff there, but he actually didn't. So here's the problem with it though, Rusty. This is where the Article 230 concessions come from, is that you can't act as a utility and a publisher and have the protections therein. So the problem is that YouTube, Facebook, all other social media were acting as publishers who got to determine what information was correct, what information went out, if they didn't like it, if it went against narratives. But then they were also receiving the same protections that they would as a utility. So you can't have it both ways. But the thing is, when you only have your people in charge setting a narrative based on what we're finding out now,
is their personal opinion on shit.
Well, not even that. If you've been following the Twitter file releases that are coming out right now on Twitter, there's so much more information or so much more stuff coming out about what the U.S. government was doing via Twitter, that we haven't even gotten to that part yet. We're still working through removing and shadow banning and how they removed Trump, even though he didn't technically break any rules, and who knew about it, who told them to do it, and all this kind of stuff like that. But the thing is, they gave out misinformation to begin with, Rusty. Like the corporations and our own governments all gave out misinformation and called it facts. And it's coming out now, especially because how many people, especially in Canada there with the whole trucker revolt and all that kind of stuff, those the quote unquote evil anti-vaxxers, who are standing up for the right to not get it if they didn't want it because they didn't, whether they didn't trust it or they were lied to, such as very specifically that it stops the spread of the virus, which has now been proven that they never tested it
God damn it. Sorry, guys.
for protecting against spread of the virus.
Right.
And they were held, the entire world was held prisoner under that guise. So why do those people who lied to you in the first place?
What do you mean, those people?
I didn't say they. What do you mean by they? Anyways, so I mean, here's the problem with especially with what our own government here in the U.S. tried to do with the Misinformation Governance Board. Sorry, I said that wrong. They basically wanted to be. They wanted their Department of Truth. They wanted to say, look, this government entity is now going to tell you day in and day out what is real, what is not.
Yeah, but who watches the Watchmen?
That's the point.
Well, this is and this is the problem overall, right? Is that now it's become incumbent upon us as individuals, and maybe it's always been that way, but it just seems more prevalent now with social media platforms, right? That now it's incumbent on us to make sure that the information that we're reading is correct and accurate, where it seems like before it was like the media was our defense, right? Our firewall, if you will, against factual information being
But
presented.
once the 24-hour news cycle started, that capability went away.
Yeah.
Well, this is right, and this is the other problem too, right? Is that now even there's a lot of media platforms that now own the news
outlets,
corporations and the news outlets, right? So the narratives that are being published or put on TV or networks and social media platforms are now driven by people with money and agendas.
Well, they always were.
Dude, I'm gonna let you know right now. If he put this out unedited, this conversation we're having, YouTube would shut it down. Podbean would probably kick it out. Like everything, because it's gonna be monitored, and somebody's not gonna like what's being said.
I gotta move my mic back just a little bit. No, the only thing I'm gonna do is bleep certain words, but the whole the context will be here. But no, but here's the problem. If you've ever thought that journalism was non-biased, then you are a fool.
It's always been biased.
Exactly. All journalism has always been biased, whether that's towards a government narrative or the billionaire's narrative, one way or the other. You've been fed whatever it is somebody else thought you needed to know because you're in the masses. It's like, now at some point, is it neutral? Like, should the news be neutral? Yes, there shouldn't be a bent to anything. There should just be facts. Now, if someone has other facts, I don't mean different facts, I mean other facts, those should not be ignored because the first person said something else. The
easiest one to use as an example during our lifetime is the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Like, you can just go back and look at old news clippings and news videos about the Vietnam War. You got one person telling you it's the greatest thing America's ever done, and the next person telling you it's the worst thing America's ever done, because each one was running a different narrative, and the same thing was happening for both people. They just looked at it differently and sold it differently.
Our media here in the U.S. is responsible for getting us into more wars than anything else. It's like so many things have been told to us through the media, and they're like, yeah, the only reason we got involved was because it came through that way. And it's like, oh wait, and all this shit was lies. It's like so many things were we were lied to, and we only find out way later. Like, you understand that, like, the information that came out about the shots was supposed to be delayed for 55 years. Like, we weren't supposed to know for 50 some odd years that they never tested the shots' efficacy against spreading the virus. We were never supposed to know that because we were told, and they sold it to us. It was shoved down our throats via every news organization out there. Our presidents, everyone said, get it so that you don't spread the virus to grandma. If you don't get the shot, you're killing grandma. Right? How many? It was said everywhere, and people did, without ever knowing if there's going to be long-term side effects of anything. They said it's wholly capable. You're going to be fine. It's going to lower the chances of death. It's going to do all these other things. And by the way, I'm going to bleep this out, but I'm going to say this for you guys.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with the vaccine.
No.
That's dumb. The
No.
vaccine doesn't keep you from getting the disease. It
No,
helps you fight the disease.
That's the point.
That's how vaccines work.
No,
it doesn't.
It was told. Hold on. It was sold to us by you have a
Wasn't sold to me like that.
lesser chance of dying and 0 chance of spreading.
It wasn't sold to me like that. It's you have a lesser chance of dying, a higher probability of surviving it, and less likely to pass it. But you can't say that it's totally 100% not going to happen because it keeps changing its variants.
Exactly.
Yeah, but what's the point of that stat though if it has nothing to do with the vaccine? So what if
because it's inflammatory for another narrative?
No, because the stat is that if you had the vaccine, you weren't going to die of COVID. That was the narrative sold. That people with the vaccine were not going to die of COVID. And I don't mean people that had the vaccine they're dead because they died.
Here's how misinformation and clickbaity statements work. What he's saying is, let's just go as a 100% fact. People who have the vaccine have died from COVID. What they're leaving out is they got the vaccine when it was the Delta variant. And what's killing them is the Lambda or the Omicron variant.
But
the vaccine does not directly affect those. Yeah, you see, but you're going, but what if it's not? What if pigs started flying around backwards with their assholes shitting out gold nuggets? Who fucking cares?
We're talking about
what if it's not? We're talking about facts.
Yeah, we're talking about people.
We're talking about clickbaity things and narratives being pushed and da-da-da-da-da. This is exactly one of those situations because with that information, how much of that in there did they dig to see which variant was that one that killed them? Which variant was the one they were vaccinated against? Because I bet you they didn't give you that information in that article.
You can't even find the information, period, on which vaccine.
Sure you can.
No, you can't.
Sure. I got vaccinated on such and such a date. I got vaccinated on such and such a date. That means I was vaccinated up to whatever variant was out. The booster shots after are for the newer ones that are coming out.
But you know what they don't have
those booster shots.
You know what they don't tell you? What variant you have.
Yeah, but
they don't. They can't tell you what variant you have.
But they can test for that. So I guarantee you, they have that information.
They never did. They never did.
Okay, but they could. But what?
How did we get on this conversation?
No, I know.
We started on Twitter when we're on the vaccine.
Yeah. What's the cost
of the goddamn Canadians?
Say
what's the cost of the medical system to run those tests? Right. I mean, either so they could test you in the U.S., but you'd have to pay for it, or the insurance. Your insurance.
It was covered by the government or your insurance already.
Because they're already testing to see that you had
right? Is that
they're already testing to see that you had the fucking
any virus,
the virus. So it shouldn't be that much further to go one step further and figure out which variant you had. It can't be that big of a difference because they've already got it in the testing equipment. You literally say, okay, now what kind is it? It's literally they just have to look at a picture of the DNA of the virus to tell you which one it is.
When I had
to pay for it.
So when I had it, I have no clue what variant it was. When Jessica had it, she has no idea what variant it was. When my mom had it, when all these people have had it multiple times, they're never told what one they had.
Are y'all vaccinated? Are you vaccinated?
I'm not. I never got it.
Okay. I'm vaccinated and I got it too, and I'm still sitting here talking to you. So that's what I'm saying. These are all
but the point is you want to narrow it down to the smallest people possible. I'm narrowing it to the biggest window possible. They literally know now more people, and you got to remember, they said that this was do you remember the headlines, those big inflammatory headlines? This, and I believe it was even our own current president said it is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. The unvaccinated will kill everyone else. They will die within millions.
So that's an inflammatory headline, but more people have died with the vaccine than without it. That's not inflammatory.
I'm not saying
it's the same shit.
No, I'm saying that they had this shit so backwards that they're
opposite sides of the same coin. They're still inflammatory, pushing their own narrative conversations either way.
Yeah, but the one was based on opinion, one is based on actual numbers.
Well, here's what I know about actual fact. I was vaccinated, I got it, and I'm still alive. That's a fact. Yeah. Everything. I have no narrative to push. You had it,
and you're lucky.
You weren't vaccinated, and you're still alive. So you're lucky. See what I'm saying? Like we can all do this all day long and just dance around it all day long. It doesn't matter. You either get it, you didn't get it, you survived it, you died from it.
They never told us that being vaccinated meant you would never get it. What they told us was that if you're vaccinated,
lessen your chances.
it reduces the chances, and even if you do get it, it reduces the symptoms. Because
Yep.
when my wife and I ended up getting it, and yes, we're both vaccinated. When we ended up getting COVID 3 months ago, it ended up being a cold,
Yeah.
Yep.
right? But I remember a friend of ours who got it before the vaccine came out, and he ended up in the hospital for 3
Yeah.
fucking weeks, and he's still suffering from shit,
Yeah.
right?
Long
So
COVID is a
he
thing.
used to play hockey, right, and every weekend, like beer club or whatever.
Where's my
Now he can't. He goes out, he
lotion?
puts his skates on, he goes out for fucking 5 minutes.
Yeah, he can't
He's
breathe.
He's
toast,
done.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So like,
anyway,
and a lot of it. Well, there's since we're completely on this subject, real quick, and this I think I'm just going to edit this entire thing down to its own episode instead. So
yeah.
the weird thing about this thing is like it's not. It was forget the fact that
Hey,
the virus
name it
itself.
hey, name the episode to V or not to V.
I'm not even going to go there. But like
That's awesome.
the whole thing about we're worried about the variant. Okay, the variant itself doesn't matter as much as your own genetics. Because so many people were the one reason why so many people died,
They're
even though
predisposed to
they're
it.
predisposed to
Yeah.
genetically some way, some other way. I mean, they even said early on, one of the earlier factors was your blood type. Like if you had certain
Yep.
blood type, you were never even showed symptoms. You never had anything. But if you had another thing, you died within days if you got it. So, but we ignored so much of that and just focused on one stop solution that wasn't set for our variants in our own bodies. It was set for the variant of the virus, even though the thing we're putting in our bodies can equally be as different once it goes in us than the virus itself,
So let me put it like this. Let's say that all the we're gonna for inflammatory purposes only, we're gonna call it all the crazy anti-vaxxer statements
Mhm.
that in 60 years this vaccine is gonna do something fucked up to my body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll go the opposite direction with the pro-vaxxers. I lived through it with it in my system, so I 100% did survive with the vaccine in my system. 50 years from now, who fucking cares? I made it another 50 fucking years. That's my thing. Is who cares?
That being
Let's say they're
said,
totally right. It does not affect me at all.
So
Let's say the
I would-
anti-vaxxers are 1000% right. I'm gonna live another 50 years before they get to say, haha, I was right. And I'll be like this, I'll be like, who fucking cares? I'm 90, I'm ready to fucking die anyways. So who fucking cares?
okay, but it's not about you who will probably
It is
be
about me because I
No,
don't care about
it's
anybody
about-
else's body.
you should care about your kid's body.
Yeah, and guess what? They're not vaccinated. They both had COVID twice
Yeah.
already.
So the thing is, you had that choice. Other people didn't.
Well, they had it the first time before they were opting for kids to have it.
Yeah. So I mean, like the thing is like we for older people, whoop-de-doo. We grow a third pinky toe. I don't care. But like kids, we don't know what it would have done to them. That's
But they've
that's
been
a
saying
fair
the same
thing.
shit about vaccines forever. I've had every vaccine ever offered to mankind. I don't have autism. My
them?
kids aren't autistic. Well, all the ones that they gave us when we were kids in
Okay,
the 80s.
so
They used to
that-
shoot us up with
so-
fucking everything when we were kids.
So one of my oldest friends, he 100% says that his kids all have autism because of their baby vaccines.
And he 100% just wants something to
based
point at and
on-
call the enemy. The actual truth is it's genetic and it happens totally by accident because that's how the human body is.
So
Got nothing to do with a
based
vaccine.
Hold on.
Based on what information?
That's what I was getting at. So
Okay.
the thing is, like for him, sure, he says that his children were absolutely normal up until 6-8 months, whenever you give them that first round of baby vaccines, and he said after that they basically went downhill fairly quickly towards visible autism, not just like the quirks and stuff like that. Like when the first time I met his kids, once they got a little bit older, I was like, oh,
What
okay,
the fuck is
something different.
visible autism?
Dude, have you never seen someone who has visible autism? Like
I don't know what you're meaning by visible autism.
There are physical. Okay, not so much as like
That's Down syndrome. That's
no,
not.
no,
That's
no,
not
no, no, no.
autism.
There are people who do have visible autism symptoms.
Right, because
Like
they talk about the spectrum, right, Ricky?
Yeah.
So based on where your
And-
kid
and
or
he's
what
very
you
much
heard
aware,
from
yeah.
Yeah, you know what my wife does for a living, right?
Yeah, she's
No.
with special.
She has a
ed kids and
master's
stuff.
degree in ESE. She's a
Yeah.
specialist in it.
So yeah, no, I mean, but like with his Down syndrome is one thing that's obvious because my wife's brother has Downs.
You have the physical.
Yeah. So,
things
but
that point out.
there are people like okay, so my ex friend who's also a YouTube, well, not a YouTuber anymore, he's a TikToker now, But
Oh god.
his kid was autistic, but just to look at him, you wouldn't think anything different. It's not until his quirks start coming out that you'll know that he's autistic.
Mm-hmm.
With this guy I'm talking about, his kids, you just went, okay, something's going on here. And
But I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm really asking, what do you
no,
mean
I'm
by
saying like
physical?
there's a thing. Uh,
Like
I'm
their
trying.
face looked funny, their
Yeah,
ears looked
it's a
funny.
face.
What do you
It's a
mean by
face.
physical stuff?
Facial features, things like that. It's not. It's nowhere near as severe as Down syndrome, where like you can always tell, almost always 100% that someone has Down syndrome. There's visible changes that are there
Mm-hmm.
with his kids. And like I said, I'm not trying to be mean about it. Not that they were ugly or anything. It's just like, okay, something's
Something looked off
different.
about them.
Yeah, and it's usually it's a lot to do with like the midline. It's a lot to do around the eyes and usually the mouth and things like that. You know, the obvious facial features.
Oh man, I wish Kara was here so I could ask her about this because
No,
I don't
it's
remember
fine.
hearing about any
Well,
of this
because it's
shit.
not everybody, but it's not everybody that has it. It's a thing that is there. There you know, there are physical deformities that happen in certain levels of things. Now, if he wants to claim that all this happened after his kids got vaccinated, fine. If you can prove that, cool, and not just be on that Jenny McCarthy shit.
But
But
then the other argument against that is it's a genetic deformity. It just took time to kick in. You see
now,
what I'm
see,
saying?
no,
That's
no,
why
no,
it's
no, no.
always an argument.
That's why I'm not going to argue with that because that's where I'm in. Because
Uh,
and once again, not trying to be mean, his
uh-huh.
kids look like his wife. No, no, but I'm saying like they don't take after him like in almost any way, like visibly. Like
uh,
they don't share any features with him. They even when they were babies, they looked very much like she has kind of a cherub face, you know, kind of a round face, big cheeks and stuff like that,
uh-huh,
and kind of a snub nose.
uh-huh.
The kids both have those same features.
Okay,
So
so she has
like
strong
so
genetics.
and that's my point. I think that if there is a genetic component that maybe it was a reaction to anything that came from her side.
Do you think does she have symptoms? Like is she on the spectrum?
She's different, but I wouldn't say if she is on the spectrum, it would be hardly
She's on the high
noticeable.
end.
She'd be on,
Yeah.
yeah, if at all. Be
Uh-huh.
because like she's mostly normal, but she's always been socially awkward. But that could just be personality. It had nothing to do with actually being autistic. But the kids themselves, they're severely autistic at this point. You know, like they have their good moments, but for the most part, they're like severely autistic, unfortunately. Um, and like I know there's a lot of people who get by every day with autism, no
Uh-huh.
problem, and then there's people where it's basically debilitating.
Mm-hmm.
They're they're somewhere in the middle, and I'm not trying, like I said, not trying to be mean about it because it is a wide fucking spectrum now. But like to blame it on that is one thing because I don't know that there's ever been a direct link to that specifically,
Never
where
been proven, and
it's
I
never
still
been
fall back
proven in the
on
same way.
as
Yeah,
a parent. I know myself personally. If something's wrong with my kids, like let's say not anything like that. Let's just my kid gets hurt.
sure.
My initial reaction is to blame whatever I can. It's a human defense mechanism. We
Yeah,
do it constantly. It's what was the thing that went bump in the night that scared me? It's not why was I scared? It's what was it that scared me? And the same thing with that is your kid has a mental disability. There's two options. You can say, well, it's genetics. It definitely came through me or the wife. Or you can say,
or both.
it's some random evil corporation thing that did this to my child. Let's blame them and rally all the forces and rah, 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 rah. So it's not taking, it's blame shifting is all
Yeah,
it is.
it is.
It's
Yeah,
looking for an excuse to say it has nothing to do with you.
because
It's if it comes from you, why be upset about that? Why would you be hurt by that? Why would you? I mean, you had no choice in what genetic makeup went out of your body into theirs. You have
yeah,
no choice in whether it fires off or doesn't fire off. Like everybody walks around with
or
cancer cells in their body. Some
yeah,
people smoke for 90 years, never get cancer. Some people smoke one cigarette, end up with cancer. It just happens. It's all genetics,
the
and it's a Russian roulette game.
the other aspect there is no one wants to admit their own shortcomings, so that if it
Yep.
did come from them, yeah, of course they want to blame someone else. But it's like, okay, dude, it's like, but
But
for
doesn't
him,
that fall under
but
our hardwire
yeah,
of passing on our genetics? We've now exposed to the world that there's something wrong with us. We can no longer procreate and make ourselves better. Like that shit.
so there's the other half of it, as I think where he really comes down to it is it goes a little bit beyond coincidence that both children a couple years apart. Like, so it's like, are your genes so bad that every child is going to have the same issues, or is it because you got the same set of shots from the same doctor, and therefore this
Who,
was
by
your
the way, could be
outcome?
using two very different vaccines from kid to kid.
Could, yeah, well, yeah, at
Because
bare
it's just
minimum,
whatever one they have on hand is the one that they're going to shoot the kid with.
yeah. And after a couple years, it's probably going to be a slightly different thing, and clearly not going to be the same batch. They're not going to leave the same shit laying around for a long time. And it's not like they were older parents either. You know, they were in their, he was in his 30s, she was in her late 20s or very early 30s. So it's not like it was that situation. But either way, you know, when I found out that he blamed the vaccines, I was like, whoa. I was like, I've known you for 20 years. I never knew that. I was like, that you had that feeling. That's crazy. But it falls into the anti-vax thing here, what we're talking about. But I will say also, if you know, because it would be in my week, but I'll just mention it here because this is going to be a separate thing. I did watch the documentary Died Suddenly, which I would suggest that if you're remotely interested, go watch it, because it definitely points out some less than coincidental shit that happened all over the globe, all regarding the poke, as it were. So now it's nothing. I'm not saying anything definitive about it. I'm saying go watch it and make up your mind based on what is shown to you.
Well, all I can say is I still think it's a genetic based thing.
I'm not talking
Do or
about that.
don't.
I'm talking about the
Do
COVID
or don't the
vaccine.
V. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Do or don't, because everybody in my family who's had the vaccine has also had COVID, and all of us are still here. So it's a genetic thing.
Yep. Well,
Sucks for those that haven't.
You know,
Yeah.
I think it doesn't matter what the world did in this situation, right?
There's no right way. Yeah.
That's right. Somebody is going to say that we did it wrong, right?
Yeah.
But we all have to admit that it is an unprecedented situation, and the governments of the world did the best that they could with the information that they had at hand at the time. Yeah, we're probably going to find out shit 50 years from now where we're going to go, wow,
no.
they got it all wrong.
Oh no, we're finding it out now. That's why it's like you got to watch some of these
yeah.
things, because we're finding
Listen,
out a lot of behind the scenes shit.
My theory, honestly, on this is, and I mean, I don't know that this is right or not, right? But I would not be surprised if 50 years from now, somebody said to us that it was actually a global wide agreement to create this scenario
To thin the herd.
only to try
Ricky's right,
to
actually.
slow down the destruction of the planet.
Yeah.
That they gave us 2 years of stay home and do nothing and stop polluting the planet just to try to slow everything down.
It's called the depopulation agenda, and it is 100% been admitted to. Now, will our government say they did that? No. Does the World Economic Forum say it outright? Yes. They said, we are doing our depopulation agenda. We're going to do this. And if you look at Event 201, if I remember correctly, it was a plan and a thing that they ran through in simulation. And it is almost 100% what they did during COVID.
Well, this is my problem with conspiracy theories.
But it's not a conspiracy. It's something that they did do.
Well, it's first of all, it's a 1,000% a conspiracy whether they did it or not, because more than two people trying to do something against somebody else is a conspiracy. It would be a theory or a fact.
Yeah.
But I'm going with theory because I haven't seen any facts to prove it. My biggest problem with theory, and it's not just this one, it's most of them, is the day and age that we live in. We all know information on the internet is immediately there for forever. We have known that for damn near 2 decades at this point.
Yeah.
Going on 3 decades. As soon as you type something onto the internet in an email and anything, it is there for fucking forever. Somebody can go find it. So how stupid are you not you, but you in the general, trying to tell me the world leaders are that they're typing these things fucking up in manuals on the internet for somebody to find?
They did it. They posted it. They posted on the World Economic Forum website. what their
Yeah,
plans are.
They
Like
they typed out something that somebody could just look up that says, "Yep, we're killing everybody," and then go, "No, we didn't do that." That makes zero fucking sense.
Bill Gates did a whole TED talk about wanting to reduce the population growth by 10%.
That's Bill Gates, and that was also he was talking in a theory, and it's been around for forever. The talk of too many people being on our planet's been around for hundreds of years. That's not new.
So Bill Gates buying up farmland, coming up with all these synthetic fucking foods, working with Monsanto to push out other natural foods, and even getting to the point that he himself was backing the vaccines in other countries for a long time between the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And then he comes out in a TED talk where he literally says, it's like, hey, we need to actually slow the population growth by 10%. We either need to make sure that people
this guy
can't.
who we all know is a genius. He is literally like a certified genius.
A guy who stole shit from other people to become a billionaire.
His numbers, they've had his IQ tested. He's still a genius. He's just a shithead. Those are two very different things. They're mutually exclusive things. So he is a genius.
So it's okay if a genius says kill billions.
No. That's not what I'm trying to get.
He knows better than us.
He's a genius who's a multi-billionaire person who makes money off of people buying his shit. You think he's stupid enough to have gone out and tried to kill off half his fucking people that are buying his shit?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure I was tracking the story.
I mean, the fact that there are people on this planet that want less people on this planet is the crazy part.
I could think of a lot of people that can go like easily.
It's like it's not even
the alternative. What's the alternative? If we don't, there's a finite number of resources on this planet.
Yeah, and they've already figured out that roughly the amount of people that can live on this planet sustainably, and it's billions more than we have currently.
Yeah, but lowering that number now allows that same billions to live longer on this planet.
So, but why do we have to kill anyone rather than believe in human innovation?
I don't think we have to kill anyone. I think we should start working on not making more.
Okay, so but
have you ever seen Idiocracy? The whole beginning where they explain how the world went stupid? Yeah. That's what we're working on right now.
Yeah.
If we continue to use medicine and science to fight against whatever the planet is currently doing, let's admit, right? Let's say the planet created SARS, the planet created avian flu, the planet created COVID, right? Somehow.
Well, one country on the planet did.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, several countries did technically.
Some part of the planet decided, from a natural evolution,
the eastern part.
Hey, there's too many friggin' human beings on the planet.
Actually, it wasn't. It's not the virus that was supposed to kill off everybody.
The vaccine.
Regardless, right? So somehow
this whole episode is getting
the natural ecosystem of the planet is trying to balance everything out. In the meantime, we're using all the technology and science and everything that we have learned about the planet from the dawn of time to counteract everything the planet is doing. Are we potentially even fighting against the natural evolution of the human race? Maybe COVID was supposed to weed out all the weak people. And by the way, I'm not agreeing with any of this. I'm just saying it out loud. But maybe COVID was supposed to weed out all of the weak people in the genetic pool that we have created so that the human race can evolve to the next level. And instead, we created a vaccine to stop that whole process. So will the human race ever evolve, or are we just going to continue the status quo?
Well, I think
I don't care. I'll be dead by the time they figure it out.
Agreed.
Yeah, actually, that's the entire.
I'm just saying,
no, there is nothing to. Well, here's the other part. It is absurdly arrogant for any of us to believe that we will have an effect on this planet in either our children or grandchildren's lifetimes. It is utter arrogance.
More than that, because like people holler about the plastic in the earth.
Okay,
they're talking about it takes 500 years to directly affect the planet. That means 500. If I throw a bottle in my backyard, it means 500 years from now that I had a negative impact. That's crazy to think that.
It's
lots of generations.
It's 500 years to where it no longer is having an impact.
Yeah.
Not that it won't have an effect for 500 years. No, actually, it's the plastics in the oceans that are causing a worse problem.
I drive my wife nuts because I'll toss something. I'll be like, "Fuck you, Captain Planet." She just gets mad at me.
I mean, if Captain Planet had his way, he actually would have wiped out most of the human race So,
I've seen the Don Cheadle ones.
yeah, exactly.
You're a tree.
And-
You're a tree. You're a
yeah.
tree.
But it's just the whole thing that COVID wasn't the cure for the planet. It was
No.
like that was just a thing that happened.
Yeah,
I'm
in
still
theory.
betting that in 100 years we'll find out that that was a biological attack that just got out of hand.
Oh no, we're gonna find that out here in the next couple of years. But the problem is, it's not what happened with COVID, because that was a virus that was released, and a virus's natural inclination is to find a balance between reproduction and infection. It doesn't want
the virus
to.
doesn't want to kill its host or it can't live.
Yeah, a virus merely wants to produce as much as possible, and the only way to do that is to be massively infectious and non-deadly, so that it can just do its thing and live for as long as it needs to do. And
Herpes simplex A.
exactly. So the other thing is like, why are we as humans creating super viruses? Because we even made super COVID in was it MIT? One of those.
Say supposedly sometimes, so people don't think you sound like a complete crackpot.
No, this isn't supposed. They did this. They combined Delta with original, so that it had the virulence of Delta, but the potency of the original. I don't know why they did this, but they did it, and they did it earlier this
how
year.
they could kill it.
No, that's the problem. That's the weird thing about what they want. They're like, well, this way it'll spread faster. It's like, so why did you make it more deadly? That's the dumb part. It's like, make it faster and less deadly. And like, oh shit, we got that backwards. Sorry. No, it might not have been Delta. It might have been Omicron. Either way, because Omicron's super, like, spreads really easily, but barely hurts anybody in comparison. But yeah, no, they just did this earlier this year in, it was either MIT, one of those Northeast
I'm gonna
colleges.
bet it's not MIT, because that's a technical institute.
They do other things there, but yes, they don't just do mechanicals and whatnot. Hold on, I gotta reply.
So, anyways,
but either way,
sucks.
God damn it. Either way, but no, the whole. I will say to both of you, if you haven't watched it, don't search it on YouTube, because you'll come up with bullshit. Go over to Rumble, because it's where it actually lives. Go look up the documentary "Died Suddenly," and just watch that. Form your own opinion based on what's shown.
But that's
to
the
you,
problem
and then
is,
do your
it's
own
not
research.
something to form. It's not something to form your own opinion. Everything like that is to help you form your opinion to what it's showing you.
Yeah, but
because like you find the one thing on the internet that says the thing is wrong, I can find something on the internet that says it's right.
Exactly.
You have this thing that says you should form your own opinion this way. I go find a video that tells you should form your opinion that way. Yeah,
yes,
it's all nonsense. Just make your own personal choices.
And that's what I was trying to say until you cut me off. Use it as a starting off point, and then go research for yourself. But the problem is that as a normal person, odds are you wouldn't even bother to look for the things that are shown. So sometimes you need that opening hand-holding situation, or else you won't even know that there's a story to look for. So that's all I'm going to say. Go watch Died Suddenly.
This is how conspiracy theories propagate.
Go watch Died Suddenly, and then do your own research and go from there.
By the way,
at the end of the day, we're going to find out the Illuminati created the coronavirus to bump up their bank accounts.
There is no Illuminati. It's called the World Economic Forum. Davos, and the Davos group. Anyways, what were you saying, Rusty?
Somehow we ended up talking about this for an hour.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. It's its own podcast. We didn't even do what we were gonna do.
This is definitely getting a special
because that's what Twitter turned into. That is what. Okay, so Twitter, and because Ricky was saying basically Twitter switched from one side to the other based on who was getting censored where, and basically that rolled into what is a conspiracy theory versus what is reality that people just don't want to believe. You know, so that's how we got there. That's the point.
That's what conspiracy theorists say too.
Yeah, well,
we didn't land on the moon. It's a reality. You should just deal with it.
How?
And then you're sitting here going, "Well, this is a reality, so we should just deal with it." You see what I'm saying? It's all. It doesn't matter.
How do you know we landed on the moon?
How do you know we didn't?
Exactly.
You see, there's the end all be all argument to it.
Yeah.
Same thing with flat earthers. Who gives a fuck if the earth is flat? Who gives a fuck if it's round? I'm still gonna go to sleep tonight and get up and go to fucking work.
But see, that argument never made sense. Of who cares?
None of it matters. Hey, when do we find out that there was a magic bullet that zigged around and killed JFK? Does that unkill him?
I mean,
does that change anything that happened afterwards?
It does. It does matter if the world governments conspired to kill off 1/10 of the population. That matters a little.
Not really. It only matters to me if me or my family's part of that 1/10 of the percent.
But the problem is, it was random. Just because you didn't die doesn't mean you weren't in the plan.
So then it doesn't affect me.
Oh God. So it's fine
then
if
it
other
doesn't
people
affect me.
die as long as you
And it's
don't.
not fine. It just doesn't directly affect me. I had family, well, people that were like family to me die from coronavirus. My
Yeah.
uncle Eric was one of them.
Yeah,
I
we all
grew up
do.
my entire life with him, but it doesn't directly affect me if I find out that the government did it. Oh no. I'm gonna tell you, like I told my old roommate was huge in conspiracies.
Mhm.
And I said it to him like this. I was like, let's say right now I can hand you a document that is 1000% fact, that has all the names of the Illuminati and people running the world on it. What are you going to fucking do different tomorrow than you're going to fucking do today, other than be able to say I was right? Nothing. You're still going to go to bed. You're still going to get up. You're still going to go to fucking work. What if you find out tomorrow that all this shit you're spouting about the government trying to kill 10% of the population is 1000% fact? How does that change your life and what you're going to be doing from this point forward? Nothing. You're just going to hope that they don't decide to do it again and hope you're not part of that 10%, because there's nothing you can do about it. Oh, I can vote somebody. No, you can't, because if it's a conspiracy, doesn't matter who's sitting in office, it's going to happen.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats.